Thanks for stopping by to check out this video about Pocketbase. So it is an open source backend for your next software as a service and mobile app all in one file. And we'll take a look at the FAQ and also a couple Google search results and the GitHub for just a moment. So let's take a look first of all at what Google search results tell us about Pocketbase. So here, what is Pocketbase used for? Pocketbase is an open source backend consisting of an embedded SQLite database with data validation, real-time subscriptions, and easy-to-use REST API. It also offers authentication and file storage for media files. And I've been using it for a little while and I do really like it. If you haven't heard of it, I think you should take a look at it. And it is open source. And so here we can see a couple other questions. How much traffic can it handle? Even without optimizations, Pocketbase can easily serve 10,000 plus concurrent and persistent real-time connections on a cheap $6 VPS. So that is pretty amazing. Is Pocketbase a CMS, content management system? Pocketbase, a new headless CMS and real-time database for small to middle-sized projects. Made with Golang, and it can answer about 2,000 requests per second, what is plentiful for most projects. Now that was from September 2022, and I do believe it has been made faster since that time. So there's some questions and answers about it, and then I'll pop over to their GitHub page just for a moment so we can see here. The Pocketbase.io is the main website. 24.5 thousand stars. There's been 81 releases. The most recent one was 4 days ago, as of today on 7/12. And you can see a sponsor of the project, the opencollective.com. Used by 375, contributors 37. And you can see the languages here that are being used. And if we scroll down just a little bit more, here we can see the embedded SQLite with real-time subscriptions, built-in files and user management, convenient admin dashboard UI, which I really like that, and REST API, which I've used in some of my other applications. The API SDK clients, JavaScript and Dart. Then they show you how you can install it. And one note here, if you're using Windows, as I am, you may have to go use 1.19 plus due to incorrect JS MIME type in the Windows registry. See issue number 6. And so there's some descriptions and instructions there. And I think that's about it for the GitHub page. Let's go back to the Pocketbase and go to the FAQ page. Do you offer hosting? No, Pocketbase is self-hosted. They go on to say they recommend fly.io and following the example guide. As you can see in some of my other videos, I'm hosting it on render.com. Does it scale? So they go on to say again, 10,000 plus concurrent and persistent real-time connections on a cheap $6 VPS. So to me, that's pretty amazing. You can do an awful lot with that. Does it support Google or Facebook login? Yes, currently the following OAuth 2 providers are supported: Google, Facebook, GitHub, GitLab, and more are coming. Does it come with front-end UI for user login, register, etc.? No, it only provides the SDKs for client-side integration, and you are free to implement your own front end. For convenience, there are default user-facing pages for user email confirmation links like password reset, verification, etc. But you can also set your own by updating the URLs in the admin UI settings. Can I use Database X? Pocketbase uses embedded SQLite in WAL mode, and there are no plans for supporting any other databases. for majority of the query SQLite in WAL mode, WAL mode, outperforms traditional databases like MySQL, MariaDB, or Postgres, especially for read operations. Additionally, a great companion app when you need SQLite replicas is Lightstream. So I was looking into that a little bit too. It's pretty interesting. I won't be looking at it in this video though. And they go on to mention they do have their discussion board here, or open a issue or feature request, or you can contact their support at pocketbase.io. So it is really a great offering, a great database, very scalable, I would say, or very fast, considering what it is. And so now we'll get into some more of the details of it and walk through a demo to see how it looks and what options are available in the user interface. So you've heard me mention the Pocketbase. I thought I would pop over here to the Pocketbase website. Again, if you've never used it, maybe you want to check it out. I really like working with it. It's very straightforward and it does give you a lot of features, and it can be quite scalable if you do some Googling, or maybe even ask ChatGPT, but it probably doesn't know about it because it's a newer service. So if you just go to Google and look, you can find out people are talking about the amazing throughput that it can have. And so here it's just letting us know open source backend for your next software as a service and mobile app all in one file. You get a real-time database, you get authentication, you get file storage, and you get an admin dashboard. And I'll briefly show that so you can have some idea of what it actually looks like in a live demo. We may go ahead and just use their live demo also. But let's scroll down a little bit more here and see some of the other features, because everything you just saw working is using this Pocketbase database, cloud database, or software as a service. So it's a real-time database and embedded performant database with schema builder, data validations, real-time subscriptions, and an easy-to-use REST API. So here they're showing some sample code, which is basically what is used in the application I was showing. It does some similar things to this. So it's really nice how they show you sample code right here. For the authentication, how do you set it up? You create your Pocketbase instance and pass in some parameters to it. And of course your email and password comes from the screen like you saw. And then it does the authentication. And also sending the verification email. That has to be set up in Pocketbase, which it's really easy to set up. You just have to have an SMTP account somewhere. And if you have that, then you can go ahead and it's basically one line of code here. And then you send the password if you're going to do a password reset, or send a request email change email. So the file storage, I haven't used that in this particular version of it. And in this application, it wasn't necessary. And here you can see it integrates nicely with the Vue Dart SDK, the JavaScript SDK, the Vue JavaScript SDK, Angular, React. So that's like a quick summary of the features of it. And again, you can kind of see on the screen how it's really pretty slimmed down, pretty basic. So let's go ahead and just look at their live demo, and I can explain a couple other things. Here you can see they're saying, hey, this is a demo of the dashboard. That's what you get for free when you sign up and get it set up in your backend system. The database resets every hour. Real-time data and file upload are disabled. To log in, they show you the email and username to use. So let's just go ahead and click on login. So this is what the user interface looks like, and you can see our users here that are in this sample database. And if we click on one of the users, here you can see the ID of the user, what their username is, what their email is. And so you saw me fill out my email. This is where it ended up. It ended up in a user account here in Pocketbase. And if you wanted to change the password, you could do that. The verified is one of the ways you can block people from logging in. If you say, yes, I want to go ahead and change it, and then their account's no longer verified, and so then they couldn't log in. And in another system that I've worked on before, there's some additional logic, like an admin setting that says, hey, the login system is turned off. So there's multiple levels of blocking people from logging into the system. So that's basically what a user account looks like and what their authorized providers are. And in this case, there's no linked OAuth 2 providers. And so then this is again a collection. It's kind of like a miniature content management system. So another collection here is called messages, and that's what we're looking at there. You can see the ID, what the message is, who the author was. And here I'm just moving my mouse over the information and you can see what's in there. And if you click the right arrow here, it shows the email messages record. And then if we go to post, that's another collection that was defined in this database. So you can see there's like a ID, a title, a description. And if I click on this, you can see how there is also a fancy editor here. So you can format your information and then you use that in your application. You can have option screens like option A, B, C, and images if you want to upload images. That was that image provider that I mentioned briefly before. And then there's another collection here called messages report. Or if you want to create a new collection, you just click that and you give it a name. Say we want to call it, I don't know, accounts. What type do you want it to be? A base, a view, or an auth collection? We're just going to call it a base collection. And then you can like add new fields. Do you want your field to be plain text, a rich editor, a number, a Boolean select? So you can create your collection this way by just clicking on a few buttons here and then you click create. And again, then you can use this collection in your source code, like in the React application or other applications. Here I'll click on the edit collection. And so here you can see like a query you could run against it or the API rules. We can click on the API preview and here it shows some additional JavaScript and other code that you can use in the API details of how to get the information and different parameters that it accepts and the different types of responses. So it's, I think, a really nice clean way to be able to, get access to all this information right here in the admin panel. And so that was for list or search, and then this is for view. Then you can click on logs, and it does have some basic logging information in here, which is nice. And if I click on that, you can see other basic information about the request that was made. And then lastly is the settings. So we have system settings, mail settings, file storage, export your collections or import collections. You have auth providers, token options, and admins. So here we have the name of the application, Acme, and what the URL is for it. And how long do you want your logs retained? And I do believe on the free account, it's only 7 days. And here it's not set up right now, but if you wanted to use the SMTP server, you click on this and then you just fill in your information and hit save. And now the system can send out emails for you through your code. So it's got some mail settings built in. File storage, if you need to hook up to that, you can fill in your information for that. If you wanted to export your collections, you can do that. Or you can download it as JSON. Or if you wanted to import collections, auth providers, you can see all the different options here that you have. It's pretty flexible. Token options. There's a lot of options here for your tokens, like what the duration is going to be for different tokens. And then for admins, here you can see who the admin of the application is. So that's basically the main features. I click through all of these different toolbar options here: collections, logs, settings for the entire application, and then Pocketbase, the users, and configuration of an individual collection. I did want to briefly mention their documentation on Pocketbase. They have good documentation here. It talks about the basics, the introduction to the system, how to set it up, talking about collections, which we looked at the actual working system, API rules and filters, client-side integration with SDKs for JavaScript and Dart, the authentication side, file upload and handling, expanding relations. There's ways to do that when you're setting up the collections, as they say right here. Pocketbase collections allow you to expand record relation fields directly in the return response without making additional requests by just using the expand query parameter. And then they have this going to production, which I talked about previously in the video. We looked at some of that. And then there's just more information here going into more details. So they do have good documentation, and I would recommend taking a look at that.
If you like this channel, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content.